Wells Report. Big elections yesterday. Ohio voters approved abortion protections. Kentucky re-elected their Democrat governor. And this comes to you from CNN. Competitive races in dozens of states provided insights into what voters are thinking ahead of the 2024 elections, including further evidence that voters remain motivated by the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which helped propel Democrats to victories in Kentucky and Virginia, according to this report. There were also few signs that economic unease hurt incumbents. Voters in the conservative state of Ohio approved two ballot measures. The first enshrines the right to productive care, including access to abortion in the state's constitution. The second will legalize recreational marijuana use. Both amendments required a 50% threshold after voters rejected a measure this year to raise that threshold. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, a Democrat, defeated Republican State Attorney General Daniel Cameron, who had defended the state's abortion ban. In Mississippi, Governor Tate Reeves, a Republican, defeated Democrat Brandon Presley. Virginia held elections for both the state and the Senate House, the state Senate and House. Democrats held control of the upper chamber and flipped the state House. The fight for control of the Senate had largely been painted as a vote on whether the state would further restrict abortion. More on the election coming up a little bit later on this edition of the Wells Report. The Israeli-Hamas war. Israeli forces have released a video of a fiery attack on Hezbollah and a terrorist target there. This from Fox News. Israel's military has shared a video purportedly showing a fiery attack on a Hezbollah terrorist target. The Israeli Air Force wrote on X that the attack happened overnight with footage depicting a fireball emerging following an airstrike. Hezbollah, which is based in Lebanon, had been engaging in border skirmishes with Israeli forces as military activity is heating up against Hamas inside the Gaza Strip. The Israeli Air Force released the video as it continued its ground operations in Gaza, announcing early this morning that Mohsen Abu Zina, whom it described as the Hamas head of weapons and industries, is the group's latest official to be taken out in the war. The United Nations estimates some 15,000 people fled south from northern Gaza. That happened yesterday as Israel continued its campaign against Hamas in Gaza City. Footage circulating on social media appeared to show a convoy of thousands of Gazans waving white flags as they moved south, flanked by Israeli armored vehicles. The U.S. Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said the Gazans used the Israel 4-hour window to set up for their evacuation. Israeli forces are locked in combat with Hamas terrorists embedded in hundreds of miles of tunnels beneath Gaza City. Israeli officials earlier this week said they believe many of the hostages that Hamas took on October 7th are being held under the city as well. Those fleeing included children, older people, people with disabilities. Most walked with minimal belongings through the Rafah gate, according to the UN agency. There was an assassination attempt on Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. Horrifying video footage captures what appears to be an attempted assassination on Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. The presidential convoy came under a hail of gunfire after he disregarded a menacing ultimatum from a renegade Palestinian security force urging him to declare war on Israel. Abbas holds the position of chairman of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, or PLO, which governs the West Bank territory. Notably, the Palestinian Authority president does not endorse the terror group Hamas, which controls the besieged Gaza Strip. Local media reported one of Abbas's bodyguards was shot. The attack was claimed by an organization known as the Sons of Abu Jandal. Israel's former prime minister denounced the idea of offering a military pause or ceasefire with Hamas, saying it would be inviting the enemy to rearm, strategize, and inflict more pain on the Israeli people. Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said that Israel is party to an inevitable war to eliminate Hamas. There is no backing down until the terror threat is gone. Quote, "There's no way we can accept the terror state that did what it did on our border," he said, adding a pause will lengthen the war and bring about all the negative repercussions associated with a drawn-out conflict, like the human death toll. Nearly two-thirds of Americans are disapproving of President Biden's handling of the Israeli-Hamas war. Nearly two-thirds of Americans say they disapprove of President Biden's handling of the Israeli ongoing war against Hamas, according to an Associated Press poll released today. While Americans overwhelmingly support Israel's war against Hamas, they showed less support for the U.S. providing military aid to Israel in the conflict. Roughly 56% of Americans say Israel's response to Hamas is about right or has not gone far enough, according to the poll. Meanwhile, only a third of Americans approve of how President Biden has responded to the conflict, with 63% saying they disapprove, a figure that mirrors his approval rating more generally. Karine Jean-Pierre has been skewered online for refusing to condemn vandalism of hostage Israeli posters. White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre faced condemnation online after being initially hesitant in a response to a question about activists removing posters of hostages taken by Hamas terrorists. Numerous videos have gone viral of activists tearing down posters showing hostages that were taken in the October 7th attack that killed 1,400 in southern Israel. A reporter noted to Jean-Pierre yesterday that there had been widely shared videos of individuals tearing down signs of Israelis currently being held hostage by Hamas. The reporter then proceeded to ask whether it's the White House view that these actions should be condemned or if the White House sees such activity as a form of peaceful protest. Quote, "I've kind of seen the reporting," said Jean-Pierre. She went on to block further questioning from the reporter and declared, "I'm just not going to go into specifics on that particular thing," unquote. Elsewhere in politics, the United States House of Representatives passed a GOP-led resolution to censure Representative Rashida Tlaib over comments critical of Israel and in support of Palestinians amid Israel's war against Hamas. The move amounts to a rare and significant rebuke of the Michigan Democrat, who is the first Palestinian-American woman to serve in Congress. The vote was 234 to 188, with 4 Republicans voting against it and 22 Democrats voting for the measure. The resolution, introduced by GOP Representative Rich McCormick of Georgia, advanced earlier in the day after a Democrat-led effort to block the measure failed. The U.S. House of Representatives also doing business with the power of the purse. Reported by Fox News, the House approved a measure late yesterday that would slash Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg's taxpayer-funded government salary to $1. The bill, which was introduced by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican of Georgia, was passed via voice vote yesterday as an amendment to the 2024 Financial Services and General Government Appropriations Act, the standalone funding bill for the General Services Administration, Securities and Exchange Commission, and other related agencies. I'm proud to announce my amendment to fire Pete Buttigieg just passed the House. Pothole Pete staged fake bike rides to the House and used private planes funded by taxpayers to receive awards for the way certain people have sex, said Representative Greene in a social media post. American taxpayers should not be on the hook for paying for his lavish trips or his salary. She went on to say Pete Buttigieg does not do his job. It's all about fake photo ops and taxpayer-funded private jet trips to accept LGBTQIA plus awards for him, said Greene. I'm happy the amendment passed, but he doesn't deserve a single penny. 1 year before the election day of 2024, former President Donald Trump, narrowly leads President Biden, according to CNN, 49 to 45% among registered voters. This in a hypothetical rematch of the latest CNN poll conducted by SSRS. Biden's reelection chances are buffeted by deeply negative approval ratings, a stagnant sense that all things are going poorly in the United States, diminished support among key voter blocs, and a widespread sense that he's simply not up to do the job. In a potential rematch between Biden and Trump, neither candidate had much room for growth. All told, 51% of voters nationwide said there's no chance that they would vote for Biden, and just 4% are not currently supporting him but say there is a chance that they will. Nearly half, 48%, said there's no chance that they will vote for Trump, and only 2% said they are currently backing him but would reconsider. Justice Ivanka Trump will be testifying in a New York courtroom today. She is going to testify in the non-jury civil trial stemming from New York Attorney General Letitia James' lawsuit against her family and the Trump Organization. The former president's daughter was originally listed as a defendant in the James lawsuit, in which she alleged President Trump defrauded banks and inflated the value of his assets with the help of his children. Her expected court appearance comes after her attorneys filed a notice of appeal last week to reverse the decision to require her to testify. Their request was denied. Former President Donald Trump has denied any wrongdoing and has repeatedly said his assets were actually undervalued. President Trump repeatedly has said his financial statements had disclaimers, requesting that the numbers be evaluated by the banks with their own vetting sources. Also, both President Donald Trump's son, Don Jr., and Eric Trump testified during the trial they had no involvement in the creation of financial statements and that the Trump family did nothing wrong. Speaking of lawsuits, there is a lawsuit to stop the New Jersey baby blood database. This from Fox News. Hannah Lavalio's first son entered the world 1 month premature. Nurses bustled in and out of the hospital room during his first days of life and frequently, pricked his heel to check his blood. This according to Lavalio. I just trusted and assumed everybody had my best interest in mind and my child's best interest in mind, so I didn't question it much. Unbeknownst to the new mother, New Jersey secretly stores newborn blood spots for up to 23 years and has, in some cases, turned the samples over to police. This according to an open records inquiry. Now, Lavalio and fellow mom Erica Jedniak have joined a federal class action lawsuit that accuses New Jersey health officials of violating millions of babies and parents' constitutional right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure. Every state requires hospital staff to collect a baby's blood shortly after birth. The blood is tested for a variety of health disorders like cystic fibrosis, hormonal deficiencies, or other immunodeficiencies and congenital disorders. In New Jersey, the screening identifies about 150 babies per year with serious illnesses. This according to a handout given to parents by the hospitals. Parents are not told the state stores those samples for more than 2 decades or for why. That is today's front page here on the Wells Report. Thanks very much for joining us.